Welcome to the Authentic Spiritual Journey, a weekly podcast featuring real and practical spiritual conversations from fresh perspectives here on the Experience of the Soul podcast channel. Today, episode 274, Go Get It. And now your host, Reverend Cynthia Alice Anderson.
Hello and welcome to the Authentic Spiritual Journey. My name is Cynthia Alice Anderson. I'm also lovingly known as RCA, and I'm here today in my home studio wishing you a wonderful Monday. Thank you so much for joining me, friends. Today is a wonderful day, and I have to admit I am super excited to record the show today, and the reason I'm excited is because it brings me so much joy to bring the show. As a matter of fact, I had a day full of strange interactions and a couple of disappointing things happened. And I thought, what would make me happy? Recording a show. Believe it or not, friends, this is the Authentic Spiritual Journey, show 274. And today is September 18th. And the title of today's show is Go Get It. Go get it. Go get that blessing. And that is a line from a song that I love. We're going to put it in the show notes. It's a song by the gospel group Mary Mary. And I have been listening to that on repeat the last several weeks. My good friend Paris turned me on to that song. And evidently, it was one of those gospel songs that even crossed over into the mainstream. It's just so positive. And the words are, go get your blessing, go get it, go get your blessing. And it's about really trusting that every moment in life, there is a blessing to be found. In every moment in life, there is a blessing to be found. And even as I was describing my day earlier, what was interesting, and I won't go into the nitty gritty details. I'm sure you're not interested in what went wrong today. But what was interesting is that even in the midst of it not happening like I thought, it was almost funny observing myself and the people around me, because clearly there was a miscommunication. And as I worked with it in my mind and heart, I finally got to the point of, you know what? I still did what I needed to do. I still received a blessing out of this, and I'm still going to be able to help and support people through this material I'm creating. So it is all good, and there is a blessing there. So without going into every detail, what I'm saying is it took a bit. It took a bit, but I found the blessing. And I know there are things in life that are rough. If we're experiencing, say, tremendous losses, or, someone makes their passing in our family, we're not going to say, yay, that's a blessing, right? We're not going to do that. We're not seeking to minimize things that might be difficult that we have to work through. What I'm speaking of in this title, Go Get It, is that virtually every moment in life, there is an opportunity to receive a blessing. And I remember when my mother passed, I was quite upset. But what was a blessing out of that was the connection with my family members. But I'm not saying, don't grieve and don't try to gloss over what's happening by saying there's a blessing. This is really a very deep spiritual practice that I'm speaking of. And it is about just remembering every moment in life is an opportunity to receive a blessing. Of course, this is hard to remember. And, I often say, well, did life happen? Did life happen? Well, when life happens, this is hard to remember. That in every moment, there's an opportunity to receive a blessing. But friends, what I've learned on the spiritual journey is that what I used to think I would just set a goal and I would just end up in this bliss and I'd stay in this bliss. If I could just meditate enough or be spiritual enough, I would just maintain this blissful attitude. And what I've learned is that I meditate to clear my mind, to become, know my oneness with God, even if it's just for a few moments, and then go back into the world and live a holy life. This is what the work is. But it doesn't mean that if I meditate and then go inward, that suddenly everything is going to be perfect, right? So life happens to all of us. Life happens to all of us. And what I mean by this is unexpected circumstances. You know, when life surprises us, when we, and usually, right, it's only difficult if it's a surprise we're not expecting. In other words, if something bad happens, how do we handle it? Well, we often get confused. We become worried, and sometimes we just get mad at it. We get down, I don't know. I hate to use this word on the air, but I'm going to. We just get downright pissed. It's like, and then we rail at the universe and say, why is this happening to me? Why is this happening to me? Why is God doing this? This is a question I'm asked so often. Why is God doing this to me? And frankly, friends, none of us get out of this experience we call life. There are always surprises to life. We are co-creators of our journey and of life, but we don't control every single thing that life sends. We don't control everything that life sends to us or that God or the universe sends to us. What we do work with is once life sends this surprise, what I love to call life happening, when life is happening, the work then, the soul work is, how do we respond? How do we heal through what our response might be? The deepest truth I know really is that everything that's happening is helping my soul to grow. Everything. Everything that's happening is helping my soul to grow. Even as I say this truth and I breathe into it, I can feel a different energy internally, and I bet you can hear it and feel it through the airwaves, even though I'm recording it weeks in advance. The tough truth, friends, is that everything that is happening is to help your soul grow. Ultimately, you were put here to grow, prosper, and evolve. That's the ultimate truth. You were put here to grow, prosper, and evolve, to move forward. And I've been fond of saying in the last, year or so, personal growth is for everyone. You might say, well, I don't know how to grow spiritually, or I don't know how to grow personally. Well, the good thing is you don't have to know. Life helps you out with that. Life sends you circumstances that you don't know what to do, and you figure it out as you go. Right? You just figure it out as you go. We all want a map, we all want a plan, but the truth is, if we had that, what would the fun be in that? If we just knew what to do, there wouldn't be any growth involved. The growth is figuring out what to do next. And if we believe there's a blessing for us, we're going to be seeking to find that blessing in that. Right, in that growth, in that evolving. We're going to seek to glean what are the treasures that are hidden in this. What are the treasures that are hidden in this? But there's a blessing in this very moment for you. So the thing that I find interesting is that just as being humans, we often focus on what's wrong. We often focus on what's wrong, and we can only see what's in front of us. And then we tend to blow up whatever's wrong and make it even bigger than it really is. So when you have been on the spiritual journey for a while, what you start to see is you start to be able to put things in proper perspective. You can put things in proper perspective by knowing that what's happening is not because the universe is against you. What's happening is not because people hate you. things are happening to help you grow your soul. So in a way, it's deeply personal, but in another way, it's not personal at all. It's like there's this collective consciousness and energy called God that is always helping us move forward on the journey. This energy is pressing us forward to help us grow, because let's face it, if we weren't pushed forward to grow, we would never grow at all. We want to be happy and comfortable. We just want to be happy and comfortable. But our work here is to grow. So the great thing is, the way the journey's set up is as we're moving along, when we have this big surprise or this big growth opportunity, we get through it, we get to the other side, and then we get to be happy and comfortable for a moment. Then another growth moment comes. It's an up and down journey. It ebbs and flows. But what I like about that is it's dependable. Just like we know the ocean is going to ebb and flow. The tides go up and down. That's how the spiritual journey is. It goes up and down. It ebbs and flows. It's in and out. There is a coming and a going. And as we get through the tough spots, there's joy on the other side. So as I'm going to repeat that again on purpose. So as we get through the tough spots, there is joy on the other side. And this gives me a lot of hope. Because rather than worrying about what's showing up or thinking somebody's against me, if I'm looking at life through a proper lens, through proper perspective, then what I'm going to realize as opportunities come up to grow, as things I don't expect come up, I am going to really reflect on why this might be happening at this time. That's often a question I ask myself. Why is this happening at this time? Why is this happening at this time for me now in my journey? In other words, friends, I also believe there's a divine timing to things. And I've said before that you know what to work on if it's something's in your face. And by that, I mean, if something's coming up and you're having to deal with it whether you want to or not, right? So you know it's time to work on it if it's showing up in your journey right now. But looking more deeply at it, you might find that, in fact, you yourself have consciously called this growth moment to yourself. I was just working with a couple of clients this week who are dealing with tough work situations, and what they're doing, they're not leaving their jobs. What they're doing is figuring out while they're there, what is the lesson they're supposed to get, because they don't want to jump from this job to the next job and take the same problem with them. They want to grow through whatever this opportunity and challenge is and go get that blessing. Right? So think about that. Think about growing through the challenge. Growing through the challenge to get to the blessing on the other side. I like this idea. I'm going to grow through my challenge to get to my blessing on the other side. So if you've been listening to our shows on a regular basis, you know that several of the shows that we've done in the last few months have really led to this. We talked about looking for the good. We've talked about trusting the universe. And so each show really builds on the ideas, that are presented, so that once you get one principle, it helps you get the next one. And what I often see, I hope you're staying with me on this. What I often see people doing is they start on the spiritual journey. They begin to journal, or maybe they meditate and pray, or maybe they're starting to attend church. And then they think all the work is done and all they have to do is sit back and God's going to bring everything to them and they don't have to do anything. For those of us who've been on the journey for a while, though, We know this is an erroneous belief. We know this is an erroneous belief. Give that some thought, friends. We think God can do it all rather than us doing it. So there's a phrase I love that one of Unity's greatest authors, Eric Butterworth, said, God can do no more for you than God can do through you. And I love that because it is about us taking the power that's ours, that spiritual power, harnessing that spiritual power and taking hold of it and then moving forward as if we are here to be a blessing. And we are. So I started out the show saying every moment in life is an opportunity to be a blessing. And then I started talking about, situations that are rough. And I did say, in fact, I'm not meaning to gloss over if you're in a tough time. I said, we want to see why, we often ask, why is this happening to me? Or why is this coming up for me now? But the truth is, what we want to do is remember every day's a blessing and just make this an affirmation for myself. Every day is a blessing. I'm going to go get it. Right? So it's like an expectancy that I just love to be a part of. And that expectancy puts us in the right frame of mind to receive more good. And, who couldn't use more good? So if we're, as we've talked about in past shows, if we're looking for the good, if we are trusting the universe, right, we're going to be setting up a vibrational reality, a feeling tone of our whole lives where we are expecting good to happen and that we're affirming that it will. And that not only are we waiting to see it, but we are seeking to be the blessing in the world. Right? We are seeking to be a blessing in the world. So we're not sitting back saying, okay, God, whenever you're ready. God's saying, whenever you're ready. Right? Because God's already given us as much power as we need to do the thing that ought to be done by us. Yeah, so, every day is a blessing. I'm going to go get it. Yeah, I'm going to go get it. I'm going to go get my blessing, and I'm going to be a blessing. And friends, as you are intending to do good in the world, as you're intending to be a blessing, it is amazing all the good that comes forward for you. It is amazing the goodness that comes forward for you. You are supported by the whole universe as you move forward to do the good that ought to be done by you. That's just all there is to it. The scriptures say, seek ye first the kingdom, and all these things will be added to you. So go get that blessing. Go be a blessing. One of my favorite, I always say this about the Bible. I have a friend that tells me, you say everyone's your favorite, but there's a story in the Bible where Jesus is sending out the disciples, and he basically says, if you're not welcome, just shake the sand off your feet, shake the sand off those sandals and move on. And I had that experience earlier today in my rough day. It was like, I had communicated, I was seeking to be a blessing. And for whatever reason, where I was and where the other people where I was working with, we were just not in the same flow. And that was fine because my intentions were good. Their intentions were good, but we just weren't connecting. And so, you know what? I'm just going to let it go, whatever doesn't work. And no, good still came from it. There was still a blessing to be had. Sometimes the ego attaches to a certain way it's supposed to look, and the universe has another idea. So there is some I want to say it this way, there is some interaction with the universe as we move forward. Most definitely. Because we have this divine spiritual DNA within us. It's this divine plan that's laid out before us. Well, sometimes we kind of go off path, or sometimes we try to, go a certain way, and the universe really is not cooperating because we're not supposed to do that. Right? So we look for those signs. So even if we try to do something and it doesn't work, that's still a blessing. And why is that the case? It's still a blessing because we still got direction. We got redirected maybe and back on track. Now, maybe our ego was attached to something else. Well, the good news is the universe doesn't really care about your ego. The universe, God himself, herself, God is always helping you grow your soul because that's what matters most. Yeah, that's what matters most. So it's like, as I'm just breathing in this idea, it's like, okay, over the next week, what if every single day I got up and said, you know what? Every day or today is my day to receive a blessing. I'm going to go get it, and I'm going to seek to be a blessing every day. I'm just going to seek to do good in my life and in my world. That's it. I'm not going to worry about outcomes. I'm not going to be attached to what I want. I'm simply going to seek to be a blessing and get ready to receive mine. I'm going to go get it. I'm going to go get it. I have a friend that when they're going to the gym, it's like, I'm going to the gym. I say, go get it. I say, go get it. Because nobody's going to go to the gym for them. That's their job. Nobody's going to do my workout for me. That's my job. Yeah. So the beautiful thing too about when we're really serious about the spiritual journey is that when we start to move forward on our journey and we're seeking to be of service to humanity, it kind of helps us level up. It kind of helps us level up. And when we level up, the universe really takes notice. It basically becomes about dedicating your actions to God. Some of the great spiritual masters of the East have said, this is how we move into no karma. We dedicate our actions to God. In other words, it's not good karma or bad karma. Nobody owes us. It's no karma because we're dedicating the actions to God. We're dedicating the actions to be in service to humanity itself. This also takes the ego and the personality out of it. Years ago, I was in a pretty difficult work situation, which is kind of rare for me. I've had wonderful work situations with a lot of wonderful people, men, women, young and old. I've always had wonderful teachers and managers. I've had managers with no spiritual journey that were kinder than people that claim to be Christians. I've had just incredible work experiences. And there was one experience I was in, and for some reason, I was not getting along with my manager or my manager's manager. And I realized somewhere after I worked there about 6 months that I was personalizing everything that was happening. And I went into meditation one day and I got this affirmation, which was so simple. And it really got me back on track. And the affirmation was, I work for God. So even though I was in a work situation where I was clearly working for people, I was fallible, they were fallible, but my affirmation was, I work for God. And the more I said it, the more I could separate from the weird personality stuff that was happening and rise above it. And then the rest of my prayer, as I worked with that for several months, my prayer was, I only work for God. Help me get the spiritual lesson I need so that when I leave, this is complete. I don't want to do this lesson again. I want to get this. I want to grow past this. I want to grow through this and learn whatever I'm here to learn. Thank you, God, for the blessing. And I would just claim that in the morning. I would just do kind of this stream of consciousness. I only work for God. Thank you, God, for blessing me as I go throughout the day. Help me get the lesson I need to get. When I get it, let me know with ease and grace. I just let myself just free flow with this. Let me know, God. Let me know with ease and grace when I've actually gotten this and I've grown through this. And friends, I'll tell you, it was just a few more months, and I knew it was time to move on in my work career from there, but it was a blessing, and I got growth out of it. I was able to see behaviors not as against me, but as somebody being wounded and broken and had not done some of their work, and it inspired me to do my own work to heal my broken places as well. So the blessing was not some high energy like, woo, everything's a party. The blessing was every single day getting up and doing my spiritual work. It was every single day dedicating my actions to God, every single day trying to be of service in the highest way, in whatever way I could show up. And I did receive the blessing. I did see places I need to heal. I was able to bless those individuals. I don't hold anything negative against those individuals. The forgiveness happened years and years ago. I've been able to talk to those individuals. One even called me, 7 or 8 years ago and said, I'm really sorry for what happened when we worked together. And I said, it's all forgiven. Bless you, friends. Thank you so much. I learned a lot. Let's just call it good. I could just be gracious and spacious in that conversation because I did the spiritual work when it was needed. I only work for God. That was my prayer. So friend, I want you to know every moment in life is an opportunity to receive a blessing. Remember that when life happens, in other words, those weird, unexpected things, I know it's hard to remember, but nothing is against you. Everything is for you. Everything that's happening is to help you grow your soul. And every morning, I hope you'll start with this affirmation. I'm going to go get it. Every day a blessing. I'm going to go get it, and I'm going to seek to be a blessing in my life. And if something's really dogging you right now, find a way to dedicate what's happening to God. Try to serve from the highest level possible and move into deepening your spiritual journey around this. But I want you to remember, friend, that there's always a blessing for you, and I want you to be inspired to go get it. As Mary says, go get it. All right, dear friends, thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you got inspired and motivated to live a spiritual life. I actually enjoyed doing the show so much. It helped me move out of my funk where I was looking at a situation from a lower consciousness right before I got on. It was helping me rise up into this higher consciousness of knowing all is well. A blessing was received. So friends, go get it. And blessings on the journey, dear friends.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode of The Authentic Spiritual Journey here on the Experience of the Soul podcast channel. This channel is made possible because of listeners just like you. If you would like to support the channel with your tax-deductible contribution on an ongoing basis or through a one-time gift, head over to experienceofthesoul.com/support. The Authentic Spiritual Journey is copyright 2023, Cynthia Alice Anderson, all rights reserved. Our theme music is composed by Dave Croft and used with permission from RR Hot Publishing. The Experience of the Soul podcast channel is a production of 818 Studios.
Hey friends, Sean here, your Experience of the Soul producer. I want to take a moment to tell you about something truly exciting. The Soulworks online community, created by your host, Cynthia Alice Anderson, and available on the Mighty Networks app. If you're looking for a place where you can explore your spiritual path, connect with others, and grow in a meaningful way, then this is for you. Soulworks is so much more than an online community. It's a safe, inclusive space for spiritual exploration, self-discovery, and personal transformation. Inside the community, you'll find everything from uplifting spiritual studies to soul-centered growth practices, meditations, affirmations, and so much more. It's a space where you'll always be supported and never judged. The best part, membership is free. You'll have access to powerful resources, inspiring content, and a supportive group of like-minded people who are all on their own unique spiritual journeys. And if you're ready to dive deeper, there are premium options available to enhance your experience with a live Monday night talk series and extended, deeper meditations. If you're seeking a place to connect, grow, and nurture your soul, we would love to have you join us in the Soulworks community and see where this journey can take you. Visit my.soulworkscommunity.com today.